The story you are about to hear contains frightening facts. When you listen until the end, you may be psychologically affected for a few days. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel for more. The sun hung high in the azure sky as two pairs of friends, Jake and Lisa and Mark and Sarah, arrived at the serene lake nestled within the forest. They were on vacation, hoping to escape the hustle and bustle of city life. The tranquility of the lake, its surface shimmering under the golden sunlight, promised a perfect retreat. The friends set up their tents near the water's edge, eager to enjoy the beautiful summer day. The day unfolded like a dream. They swam in the cool, refreshing water, played frisbee on the grassy shore, and shared stories and laughter. Jake and Mark tried their hand at fishing, while Lisa and Sarah prepared a simple yet delicious picnic. The smell of grilled fish mingled with the scent of pine trees, creating a perfect harmony that only nature could provide. As evening approached, the friends gathered around a crackling campfire, the flames casting flickering shadows on their faces. They roasted marshmallows and told ghost stories, their laughter echoing through the trees. The sky darkened, stars beginning to twinkle above, creating a canopy of shimmering lights. The peace was palpable. The forest, a haven of calm. Suddenly, the serenity was shattered by the sound of gunshots echoing from the depths of the lake and the forest beyond. The friends froze, exchanging worried glances. The sharp cracks echoed off the water, mingling with the calls of distant birds. "What was that?" Lisa whispered, her eyes wide with fear. "Probably just hunters," Mark said, though his voice lacked conviction. He glanced at the darkening forest, the trees now looming like silent sentinels. They all tried to dismiss their unease, convincing themselves it was nothing out of the ordinary. After all, it was common to hear hunters in the woods, even if it was unsettling. As the darkness deepened, they settled back around the fire, trying to recapture the earlier sense of ease. But the mood had shifted, a palpable tension hanging in the air. The forest, once welcoming, now seemed to close in on them, the shadows growing longer and darker. They huddled closer to the fire, its warmth a small comfort against the encroaching night. Then came the scream, a high-pitched, chilling cry that seemed to come from deep within the forest. It was the scream of a child, filled with fear and desperation. The friends jumped to their feet, their hearts pounding. "Did you hear that?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. "It sounded like a child." The scream was followed by a series of other noises, distant shouts and muffled cries that sent chills down their spines. They strained to hear, but the forest had fallen silent again, as if it had swallowed the sounds whole. "We should check it out," Jake said, though he didn't sound convinced. The idea of venturing into the dark forest was terrifying. "No way," Lisa replied, her voice firm. "We don't know what's out there. It could be dangerous." The group decided to stay by the fire, hoping that whatever had made the noise would stay far away. They tried to distract themselves, talking about mundane things, but the unease lingered, a shadow over their words. Night fell completely, the forest around them a black void. The firelight flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced and twisted. They decided to turn in for the night, hoping that sleep would bring some relief from the tension. They climbed into their tents, the thin fabric walls providing little comfort against the vast, dark forest. In the dead of night, Mark awoke with a start. He lay still, listening intently. There it was again, the sound of footsteps, soft and stealthy, moving around their campsite. His heart raced as he shook Sarah awake. "Listen," he whispered. "Someone's out there." Sarah's eyes widened with fear as she strained to hear the sounds. Mark crawled out of the tent, motioning for the others to stay quiet. He grabbed a flashlight and shone it around the campsite, the beam cutting through the darkness. The light revealed nothing but the empty clearing and their undisturbed campfire. The footsteps had stopped, leaving an eerie silence in their wake. Jake and Lisa emerged from their tent, their faces pale in the moonlight. "Did you hear it too?" Jake asked. Mark nodded, his grip tight on the flashlight. They stood together, scanning the darkness, their breath visible in the cool night air. The forest was a wall of shadows, hiding whatever or whoever was out there. Suddenly, a rustling sound came from the bushes near the edge of the clearing. The friends tensed, every muscle ready to flee. Mark aimed the flashlight towards the sound, the beam revealing nothing, just swaying bushes in the impenetrable forest beyond. But they knew they had heard something, or someone. Deciding it was too risky to investigate further, they retreated to the relative safety of their tents, keeping the flashlight on and close by. The night stretched on, every sound magnified in the stillness. The friends lay awake, listening to the forest, their nerves frayed. Sleep came fitfully, filled with restless dreams. In the early hours of the morning, just before dawn, a blood-curdling scream pierced the silence. The friends jolted awake, their hearts racing. The scream was followed by the sound of something crashing through the underbrush, moving rapidly away from the campsite. The terror was palpable, their minds racing with possibilities. "We need to leave," Lisa said, her voice shaking. "Something's out there and it's not safe." The others agreed, their fear outweighing their curiosity. They quickly packed up their belongings, their movements hurried and frantic. The sun was beginning to rise, casting a faint light over the forest, but it did little to dispel the fear. As they hurriedly disassembled their tents, Mark noticed something odd. There were strange symbols etched into the ground around their campsite, symbols that hadn't been there the night before. They were crude, almost primitive, and seemed to form a circle around where they had slept. "Look at this," he called out, his voice tinged with fear. The others gathered around, their eyes widening as they took in the sight. "What does it mean?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. No one had an answer, but the discovery added a new layer of fear. It was clear that someone, or something, had been watching them and had marked their presence. They abandoned their campsite, their minds filled with the chilling realization that they were not alone. As they made their way back to their car, the forest seemed to close in on them, the trees whispering secrets only they could hear. The sense of being watched was overwhelming, pressing down on them with every step. Just as they neared the edge of the forest, they heard it again, the sound of footsteps, this time running towards them. Panic surged through the group as they broke into a sprint, their only thought to reach the safety of their car. The footsteps grew louder, closer, until they were right behind them. They burst out of the forest, the bright sunlight blinding them momentarily. They scrambled into the car, slamming the doors shut and locking them. Jake fumbled with the keys, his hand shaking, and finally managed to start the engine. They sped away, not daring to look back, the horror of the night etched into their minds. As they drove away, the forest receded behind them, but the fear remained. They were safe for now, but the memories of the night haunted them. What had they encountered? Who or what had marked their campsite and followed them through the woods? The questions lingered, unanswered and unsettling. Back in the safety of their homes, they tried to return to normal life, but the experience had changed them. They couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of something lurking just out of sight. They spoke less of that night, the memory too raw, too terrifying to relive. But it never truly left them. The friends would never forget their camping trip by the lake. The beautiful summer day had turned into a nightmare, a series of fearful, intense moments that left an indelible mark on their souls. They had escaped the forest, but the terror they experienced stayed with them, a shadow that followed them wherever they went.
To hear more suspenseful and chilling stories like this one, please consider supporting my channel by subscribing and liking the video. Your support means a lot to me. Thank you!